Tonight there's a passenger ship in orbit that doesn't take tourists or astronauts. It only takes people who are too tired of Earth to fall asleep. You step on board, and a slow liner slips through the planet's rings toward a pale blue moon that glows like a nightlight. On this journey, you don't have to fix anything or be anyone. You just breathe, close your eyes, and wake up under another sky. You're already in orbit when you realize how tired you are. Instead of an evening city beneath your feet, there's a gigantic planet hanging beyond the terminal glass. Continents are hidden under blankets of cloud. Storm bands look like whipped cream. The hall is almost quiet. The usual airport noise has dissolved, leaving only soft announcements and the distant hum of docked ships. At the gate, the night flight sign blinks softly. Orbital Liner Aurora Bridge. Route: Planet, Pale Blue Moon. The words sound both ordinary and impossible, like a bus schedule for sleep. The announcer's voice gently invites passengers to approach the gate. People rise slowly, as if time itself is yawning. You walk along the glass bridge toward the ship. Lights in the floor mark the path in a gentle glow, and beyond the transparent walls is almost pure darkness. In it drift the rare lights of other vessels and a thin bright arc of the planet's rings. It feels like walking along a bridge suspended between the sky and nothing at all. The ship waits at the very end of this bridge. It looks nothing like the sharp war cruisers from movies. Its hull is rounded, its lines soft and flowing, like a large, calm animal curled up to sleep at the dock. Rows of warm windows stretch along the sides, lit with gentle yellow rather than harsh cold light. You pause for a second at the entrance hatch. On the other side of the thick door is the unknown. Yet there's no threat in it, only a different kind of night. The hatch opens silently, and the ship exhales warm air from its interior, smelling of metal, filters, and a faint resinous note, as if someone added a drop of forest to the air system. Stepping over the threshold is like changing worlds. The terminal noise stays behind you, cut off by the airtight door. Inside is a new sound, a deep, measured hum coming from under the floor and above your head at once. It isn't the roar of engines at full power, but the steady buzzing of a heart that's in no hurry. The corridor greets you with soft light. Ceiling strips are dimmed like night lamps on a train. The walls are light, with rounded corners so your gaze doesn't snag on anything. Other tired people move almost silently along the floor. Someone rolls a small suitcase. Someone trails a hand along the wall just to feel the ship. At a junction, a small arrow lights up on the wall. Your cabin is marked by a simple number and a tiny crescent moon icon, the sign of a night route. You turn, following a thin line of glowing dots running along the baseboard. With each step, the hum under your feet feels a little stronger, but it doesn't press on you, it supports you, like a pulse. The door to your cabin opens at a light touch. It slides into the wall without any creaks or resistance, and you step into a small, surprisingly complete space. Along one side is a wide berth, along the opposite wall, a narrow desk and a light control panel. Across from you, almost the entire wall is occupied by an oval window. The first thing you do is walk up to the glass. Outside, the orbital dock has already slipped aside, reduced to a dark silhouette with a few bright points. Below the ship, like in a giant bowl, lies the planet, a huge sphere with soft swirls of cloud. Above its edge, the rings curve in a glowing arc, like a frozen waterfall of light. Far above this view, a tiny point hangs in space. Even from this distance, it holds a faint blue tint. A pale little blot, a reminder of where the ship is heading. Inside that speck is the moon, icy and bright, wrapped in a thin veil of atmosphere. For now, it's just a promise on the glass. While you're watching, a gentle voice comes alive in the cabin. It flows from a slim speaker strip above the door. Good evening, passenger. This is the onboard system of Aurora Bridge. Our course will pass through the outer edge of the planet's rings, then we'll arc toward the pale blue moon. Estimated arrival time, orbit morning standard. The voice doesn't rush. It leaves pauses where they feel right. Comfortable gravity will be maintained for the entire flight. No turbulence is expected. We recommend using this journey for rest. In the next few minutes, we'll undock from the terminal. Please make sure your personal items are secured and your thoughts can be safely let go. As soon as the voice falls silent, the ship gives a tiny shiver. It's not a sharp jolt, more like being nudged a millimeter, the way someone straightens a book on a shelf. In the window, the dock begins to slide away, and the planet beneath you seems to grow, filling more and more of your view. You sit down on the edge of the berth, feeling the motion. The vibration under your feet becomes smoother, more assured. There's no audible engine roar, no sudden changes. Just a barely perceptible but constant background sound, like distant surf or wind in leaves heard through the wall of sleep. The planet in the window slowly drops away. It's a strange sensation, not quite lifting off, not quite falling. It's as if you and the planet are simply stepping away from each other, like partners in a slow dance. The rings, which looked like an arc before, now unfold into almost a flat line, a thin streak of light crossing the black sky. Somewhere deep within the ship, the lighting shifts. A slight change in tone warms the corridor lamps. Above your door, a tiny symbol glows, a stylized eye slowly closing. Night calm mode engaged, and the same voice murmurs gently. Inside the cabin, the light dims too, leaving a pleasant semi-darkness. Suddenly you want to see all of this from another angle. Not through a small porthole, but beneath a wide dome. On the wall by the door, the observatory icon pulses softly. You stand, check that your bag is standing securely by the wall, and step back into the corridor, which is even quieter now. The corridor feels longer than before, but not empty. Here and there you notice other passengers, someone walking barefoot in soft socks, carrying a folded blanket. Someone already returning to their cabin, shielding their eyes from the light. Everyone moves slowly, respecting the shared sleepy atmosphere, like in a library or on a night train. The observatory door opens sideways like a curtain. Beyond it is a semicircular hall with low seats arranged in shallow tiers. The ceiling is almost invisible. In its place is an enormous transparent dome, and through it space looks not like a picture, but like a boundless sea with the ship as a small, very calm boat afloat. You sink into one of the seats. It cradles your body like a soft shell. A small headrest supports your neck. The armrests adjust themselves to match your arms. In front of you are stars, cold, countless, and somehow not frightening. They resemble powdered snow scattered across black velvet. To the right, slightly below, hangs the planet. Now you can see it whole, with a bright star glint along its rim. The rings outline it, as if someone traced a circle around it with a thin glowing pencil. In the far sun's beams, ice and stone shards and the rings shimmer like whipped up frozen dust. Somewhere in the hall, a very soft sound fades in. It isn't music in the usual sense, but long, drawn-out chords, more like breathing. Over them, the familiar voice begins to speak, even quieter this time, like a guide who knows the main attraction here is silence. This planet was once just a point for us, the voice says. Now we know its winds, its storms, the power of its gravity. But the most unusual thing is not the rings themselves, but how light passes through them. At that moment, the ship subtly adjusts its course, and you see shadows from the rings sweep across the upper atmosphere in a thin twilight band. We'll pass through the outer edge of the ring plane, the voice continues. Not so close as to trouble the stabilizers, but close enough for you to feel the light change. As if in reply, the view beyond the dome slowly shifts, one picture folding away, another opening. The stars dim for a heartbeat and then flare more brightly. The ship moves so smoothly you barely feel the maneuver. But the play of light reveals it. You are entering a thin, diffused river of particles. Far away, countless fragments of ice and rock reflect light, and by the time it reaches the dome it has turned into a soft, scattered glow, as if it had passed through a deep blue snowfield. Outside the dome, a delicate arc appears in this radiance. Not quite a rainbow, not quite a shadow. Just a smoky ring slipping across your view and fading. That's sunlight refracted by particles in the ring plane, the voice explains gently. What is formula for mathematicians is a brief light dream for us. As you watch this a dream, any leftover tension loosens. All the usual things, messages, tasks, other people's voices, stay far below, under layers of atmosphere. Here, between planet and moon, in a corridor of light and ice, nothing is required of you. No decisions, no answers. Just breathing and looking, without interfering. Gradually, the planet shifts to one side. The ship is easing its course outward, toward the moon's orbit. In your field of view appears a tiny sphere, tinted in a gentle, almost milky blue. It's still small, like a bead on a string, but already pulls your eyes the way a single lamp does in deep night. Our destination is the pale blue moon, the voice says. Its surface is covered in ice and thin cloud layers. Under them, scientists believe, an ocean may be hiding. For us, something else is more important, the light it reflects. It's softer than light from the planet or the stars. We call it sleep blue. That a sleep blue is barely noticeable yet. But just knowing it's there acts like an invitation to close your eyes. Your eyelids feel heavier, even though you don't quite want to leave the observatory yet. The seat beneath you quietly suggests it wouldn't mind if you decided to sleep right here. The voice falls silent, as if giving everyone time to simply look. In that quiet, you notice the rare gleams of other ships crossing the distant background. They look like slowly drifting stars, but their smooth trajectories betray them as liners like yours, heading toward other moons, stations, and station hotels. In a few minutes we'll switch the ship fully to night mode, the voice whispers again. The observatory will stay open, but sound will be turned off. You may remain here as long as you wish, or return to your cabins. The journey will take several hours. That's enough time to see an ocean's worth of dreams. You sit a little longer, soaking in the sky. Stars, planet, tiny blue moon, they all fold into one large, very slow breathing cycle. It's as if an invisible hand is lowering a thin veil over the dome, and the brightness of everything softens one more notch, becoming especially gentle. As you rise from the seat, you feel a slight reluctance to leave. But the thought of your own small cabin, of a blanket and the chance to watch the same moon from your private window, weighs a bit more. You slip quietly out of the observatory. The doorway behind you closes, folding space back into a round glass eye. The corridor greets you in an even dimmer light. It looks like the hallway of a hotel at night. Soft footsteps, muffled voices, closing doors. Small panels with the quiet hoursy icons glow on the walls. The ship seems to be whispering to everyone at once. In now. You don't have to do anything. Heading back to your door, you notice how your body has changed. The heaviness no longer presses, it soothes. Each step feels less like necessity and more like part of a slow ritual before sleep. Your fingers find the sensor by habit, and the door slides aside, letting you back into your own little piece of private space. The cabin seems slightly dimmer than before. Most of the light now comes from the window, where the dark field of space is dotted with rare stars. The planet has moved aside, and the blue moon has grown noticeably larger, its color now reminiscent of porcelain lit from within. You step closer to the glass. Soft shifts ripple across its surface. Maybe these are cloud bands, maybe thin ice layers catching the light at different angles. Around its edge is a faint halo glow, far weaker than a planet's but more intimate, like a night light. Under that glow, it feels right to begin your own small ritual. You pour yourself some water from the built-in dispenser, feeling the cool of the cup in your palm. You set it on the table by the bed. You tap the light panel, adjusting the brightness to that level where shapes are still visible but already dissolving pleasantly into shadow. The bed accepts you like a long-familiar guest. The mattress molds itself to your weight, yielding a little more where your back is most grateful. The blanket, light yet surprisingly warm, flows over you in a soft wave. The fabric gives a quiet rustle as you settle in, finding exactly the right angle for your head. Before you stretch out completely, you shift closer to the window. Now the moon fills a good third of it. If you look carefully, you can make out fine dark streaks, perhaps fractures in the ice crust or thin lines of shadow from unseen ridges. They don't look like geology, They feel like embroidery on the fabric of sleep. The system's voice returns once more, almost like a whisper in your mind. Estimated time to lunar orbit, 3 hours and 40 minutes. We recommend using this time for rest. The ship will perform all maneuvers automatically. No actions are required from passengers other than breathing. That last phrase makes you smile. No actions other than breathing, like instructions for using a spaceborne night. You let yourself believe that you truly don't owe anything else right now. No messages, no decisions, no tasks, just inhales and exhales matching the barely audible rhythm of the ship. You lie on your back, then roll slightly onto your side. From this angle, the moon's edge sits higher in the window, sliding toward the upper corner. The stars behind it continue their tiny shimmer, but your gaze no longer tries to lock onto individual points. The sound of the ship becomes your new silence. The deep background of the reactors, like a faraway waterfall, blends with the barely perceptible whisper of ventilation. Now and then there's a soft click somewhere in the wall as metal responds to temperature changes. None of these sounds intrude. They fill the emptiness so stray thoughts can't move in. Your breathing gradually syncs itself to that rhythm. On the inhale, it feels as though the ship expands a little, like a chest taking in vacuum. On the exhale, it seems to gently contract, holding everyone who's sleeping inside. You become part of that shared breathing system, a small node in a large network. Your eyes begin to close on their own. Even if you force them open for a moment, the view is blurred now. The moon, the stars, the edge of the window, everything has lost its sharp contours and turned into soft patches of light. You stop noticing where the glass ends and your imagination begins. Far away in the ship's structure, a short tone sounds. Not an alarm, just an operational chime, a marker of the next flight phase. Maybe the ship has entered a transfer orbit. Maybe it's nudged its course to match a beacon. For you, it's just another beat in the night's melody, proof that someone else stays awake in your place. Behind your eyelids, faint colors begin to gather. Not bright bursts, but pale, translucent bands, a little blue, a touch of green, a hint of violet. They remind you of rings, of nebulae, and of that asleep bluey lunar light the voice spoke about. Everything blends into one soft palette. Thoughts retreat into the background and turn into noise. They still try, now and then, to raise their heads, to remind you of a task, a word, a face. But each time they meet something invisible yet very soft, the ship's hum, the blanket's weight, a slow turn of your body that chooses for you. You barely notice the moment when you stop tracking time. A heartbeat ago, you were supposedly counting seconds between your heartbeats, estimating how long till arrival. Now that information is no longer needed. Time exists somewhere in the ship's systems, in navigation memory, but not in yours. Outside, the moon keeps growing. The ship is bringing its course closer and closer to her bright side. If you were looking out now, you'd see her surface gradually filling the whole circle of the window, pushing out the black of space almost completely. But your eyes have other pictures to watch. Inside you, a quiet sense of arrival begins to form. Not because you see a port or feel a landing, but because your body has found a point of rest. It's as if a long internal flight, begun long before the ship ever left the dock, has finally reached the right orbit. Everything unnecessary has fallen away. Only a slow revolution around sleep remains. Somewhere on the thin border between dozing and sleep, you still hear something. Maybe it's the last, barely audible phrase from the onboard voice, a thank you for choosing this route for your rest. Maybe it's the imagined sound of future wind over ice plains. Either way, these sounds already belong more to your dreams than to wakefulness. The ship continues on without asking for your help. It knows how to turn, at what height to face the light, how gently to enter the moon's rarefied atmosphere. You are the only part of this mechanism granted the right to do nothing now, to decide nothing and hold nothing up. The pale blue moon waits for its morning, and you for yours. When your eyes open again, the world beyond the glass will be different, brighter, closer, hinting at the horizon of ice fields or the domes of a station. Until then, there are many soft cycles of breath and many kilometers of night space meant only to be slept through. You're no longer in the orbital terminal or in the ship's corridors. You're in that part of the journey that never shows up on displays, between checkpoints, between coordinates. This is the space inside sleep where there is no beginning and no end of the route. There is only the hum of the ship, the gentle blue glow behind your eyelids, and you're right, at last, to rest. And while the ship carries you toward the pale blue moon, tonight the real destination isn't the station or the ice surface, but that deep, heavy, peaceful sleep you've been missing. Everything else is just a very beautiful road that rocks you carefully toward silence.